Hey, coworker, not my coworkers. Hey, co-reporters, welcome back to my channel. Listen, we've got to talk about how Francesca Farago has turned out to be the secret evil genius behind Perfect Match on Netflix. I never would have imagined her having so much hold over the house, but she somehow has managed to manipulate everyone to do her bidding. And because they are so attracted to her, right? This is the pretty privilege kind of at play. They are willing to be used and abused and discarded by this woman. So let's go over it. Things start off pretty good for her at the beginning when she decides to partner up with Dom. She really lucked out with him. I don't think that they knew each other going into this. I think she just got lucky to find a genuinely loyal and nice guy. But being a genuinely loyal and nice guy, he falls for her immediately and he wants to be in love with this woman. He's not thinking about it as just a game the way that Francesca is. And we don't even know yet at this point that Francesca is thinking of this experience as just a game. It's not until episode 3 that she enters into her villain era. The kind of thing that kicked it off for her was when Savannah, who was from the circle. By the way, you guys, I didn't love Savannah on The Circle. I didn't like the fight that she got into with Tara Alicia. I felt like they were both a little bit too catty on both sides. So I was not really that excited to see her on the show, though I was looking forward to seeing a different side of her. But anyway, Savannah, at this point, she had been teaming up with Nick to get through the series, but she's kind of like, listen, I want to see if I can have any kind of chemistry with Dom. So I'm going to go ahead and talk to him. She'd been trying for a little bit, but Francesca is very territorial over him. So it's always been quite difficult for Savannah to get a chance to speak to Dom until this particular episode. So she speaks to him, and this truly sets off Francesca. Okay, I didn't really love the way that Francesca handled things, but we're going to get into that a little bit later on in this video. First of all, Savannah, like I had said, she had always been teaming up with someone named Nick, who's also from the circle, but from a different season. They were doing this more strategically and platonically. And so knowing this and now being upset that Savannah had the audacity to participate in the experiment by actually trying to make a connection, Francesca decides to start trying to hook the new girls who come into the villa up with Savannah's match, Nick, so that she can ultimately end up going home. So I was like, listen, girl, that is really mean. But for the purpose of this game, that is really intelligent of you, right? Like Francesca, she is always thinking ahead. And I do have to hand it to her on that. Like she's really all about it at this point. So this is where Francesca gets a little bit too mean for me personally. She confronts Savannah, like they have a private conversation together, and she basically tries to intimidate Savannah by telling her, listen, all the people in this house are my friend. Okay. So it's going to be really weird for you if you stay back up from my man. We're in a relationship. We're this, we're that. And Savannah kept telling her, you guys are not in a relationship. He's got the right to keep trying to make new matches and stuff. I've got the right to keep trying to make new matches. So I don't understand why you're being so hostile to me. And at a certain point, Francesca kind of walks away and dismisses Savannah. And Savannah, this is where I went from disliking her, because I do find her to have kind of a more snooty, bitchy personality. But at this point, I love the way that she stood up for herself. She was like, I am not going to be intimidated by this girl. I'm going to walk on over and continue saying my piece. And so she does exactly that in front of the other girls as well. And she just holds her own. And my ultimate favorite part was when Francesca told her to basically just go talk to someone else, just not her. Go talk to anyone else. Leave me alone. What happens? Savannah decides, all right, why don't I go ahead and talk to your man then? So Savannah goes ahead and she has a conversation with Dom, but Dom, again, is a very loyal person who does not want to mess things up with Francesca. So when Francesca sees them having a conversation, she basically tells Dom from across the room, Dom, no, don't talk to her. And so Dom walks away and comes back to Francesca, and Savannah is kind of left there womp, 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 which must have been a little bit embarrassing for her. But honestly, kudos to her for even having the courage to do all of that. It could not have been easy. And she really held her own. And I definitely admire her for that, 100% without a doubt. If anything, I if anything, I think she came out looking better than both Dom and Francesca, because the way that Dom just turned around like a little bit of a puppy without even like really saying goodbye or hearing her out or anything like that. Like, I don't know. It kind of just looked a little bit odd. Though, you guys remember, I am a Dom fan, and I am going to be making another video about like how I love his genuine heart and how I think he's a little bit too pure for the show anyway. So here's something that's really weird. When Dom goes back to talk to Francesca, she basically tells him that he can talk to anyone else in the house, which in my opinion is the first red flag. You're over here saying that this man is your man, my man, my man, my man. So why all of a sudden are you saying he can talk to anyone in the house? Hey guys, all my TikTokers are joining in. So nice to see you. Like if you're really all there for him, that would not be a thing. I would think that she would be looking for security in him right at that point. But I digress. And then the other question is, well, why can he talk to anyone except Savannah? Up until now, Savannah has never done anything to Francesca, and including now, she hasn't done anything to Francesca. So I don't understand. Was she threatened by Savannah? I mean, Savannah is a very beautiful girl, right? As well. But like, they pretty much all are in the house. So I wonder what that is. Maybe it's just the fact that Savannah had the guts to be the first one to try and make a bold move. Now, okay, things get, by the way, Savannah does ultimately end up going home this episode, which was quite unfortunate for her. Like, I hated that this was the moment that she went home. I was wishing that she would be able to kind of be saved by someone last minute, just like what happens with Dom. At a certain point, something happens, which we will get into, and Dom gets saved. It's too bad that the same thing couldn't happen to Savannah. So after all of this, my man talk from Francesca, claiming that she's in a relationship with Dom and everything, you would think that the next day when they win the challenge, she would be excited to have her date with her man, right? And then set other people up on dates and everything, right? But no, Francesca, the evil supervillain here, she sees a certain sexy someone on the board, and decides that she can't help but resist to send herself on a date with none other than Toby from The Office. I was like, girl, Toby? Really? Like, what? That was so wild to me. I do actually have a TikTok video about this, that my conspiracy theory is that Francesca ultimately decided to set herself up with Damien because they might have had some kind of an arrangement. Because when Francesca was just starting out in the reality television world and trying to get her name out there, Damien was the star, one of the stars on like the biggest breakthrough hit on Netflix, Love is Blind. Like, guys, do not take for granted how big Love is Blind was when it debuted in 2020, okay? And so she was able to kind of leech herself onto him, go to After the Altar, and then stage these paparazzi photos. And so I think that it was a I scratch your back, you scratch my back sort of situation, because there is no other explanation, in my opinion, that carries water in regards to this entire kind of like flip. So obviously when Dom finds out that he is being left by Francesca, he's heartbroken. He starts crying and everything, and my heart truly broke for him, especially when he tells her at the end that he loves her and that he truly, truly loves her, and he starts asking himself, like, well, why was she so pissed off at Savannah for talking to me if she was just going to go ahead and leave me the next day? I thought she was genuinely into me the way that I was genuinely into her. And honestly, it's a great question. That had to have hurt. He was absolutely, completely blindsided by Francesca, and it was not cool at all, at all. We've got a message from Rachel here. She says, I just wanted to say that the Damien and Francesca thing left a bad taste in my mouth. I was never a fan of Damien. Dom is an angel and deserved better. I completely agree, Rach. Like, it's just, that's the thing that makes some of these shows really difficult, is how people are treated and discarded. I don't know if that's what's like being mirrored in real life, because that happens to a lot of people. Is it the dating apps? Is it like the reality TV culture? What is it that makes people so disposable these days? It's so hard. And I'm sorry, especially in men in reality TV, to find someone like this who is just so genuine and so committed. So it breaks your heart when you see people like this just thrown away and questioning themselves whether or not they are enough, right? Because I don't know. That I think that needs to be another discussion. There is something that I do want to get into on that, because I am going to be making a separate video about Chloe. Chloe, the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful British girl that we first met on The Circle, she too was someone like that, where she seems like a nice, wonderful, genuine person. She meets someone who thinks all those things about her and adores her after being played on. I'm sorry, she's from Too Hot to Handle. Then she did The Circle. And then she got played on Too Hot to Handle. So you would think that she would understand and appreciate that sort of a connection. And then she goes ahead and does the same thing. You know what I think it comes down to? A lot of people don't see themselves in a very worthy light. And so whenever someone is willing to give them all that they are looking for emotionally, they run away because they're not ready to believe that they deserve something like that. So that's definitely something that I am going to be working on in a separate video, because it's very prevalent in the reality show world. And how many of you can say the same in the dating world, right? Like, you start dating somebody, everything is going amazing. You start picturing your lives together. They're just so wonderful, so invested. You are too. Then all of a sudden, someone backs off. Either you back off or they back off, and for no reason, right? Like, all of a sudden. And what is the underlying reason typically? Because someone has what I would consider to be an avoidant attachment style, which stems from either thinking that they're not good enough to be in a relationship with someone, they don't deserve all the happiness and the stability of this relationship, or they're afraid of being too invested in this relationship, you know, for a similar reason as well. It's just very, very disappointing. Where was I? Oh, okay. So at this point, Francesca really wants to discard Dom 1,000%. She's saying, listen, if this man is no longer my man, I do not want to see a damn moment of him in this show, because it's going to stop me from being able to explore things with Toby. I don't want to be uncomfortable exploring things with Toby while I've got my ex in the house. And so her friend Georgia, also from Too Hot to Handle, but a different season, she is heartbroken by the idea of Dom going home. She's like, no, Dom can't go home. Like, I really, really, really want him to stay. And he deserved better. He didn't deserve to be treated that way. And so she ultimately saves him. They wind up matching. And oh Lord, this is when Francesca goes into evil villain mode again. And she starts plotting to get rid of both of them. First of all, she claims that George is a fake friend, which is ironic because you're a fake girlfriend, Francesca, right? And then in episode 5, Francesca decides to start trying to get Ines. Oh my God, I am such a fool. I forgot to download a photo of Ines before I started the stream. I'm sorry, you guys, but Ines from The Circle France, she starts trying to connect her with Dom, because if she does that, then it would get rid of her former friend, Georgia. And what does she do in order to try to get this thing to happen? She enlists none other than her henchman and lapdog, Carousel. Carousel was on the show I never watched. Something about people like wearing like animals or something like that, to animal costumes, to start dating like they were furries. So she enlists her lapdog, Carousel, in order to start trying to drive a wedge between Dom and Georgia by trying to get Ines in there. And yeah, you'll see how that plays out. It very much is a long-term plan. She even goes as far as telling Ines that Georgia does not genuinely like that guy. She doesn't genuinely like Dom, which I felt like was really mean. You're talking about fake friend. Come on now. At this point, you're not only being a fake friend, you're actually low-key being evil, because you know that your former friend, whatever, likes this guy, and you're telling lies in order to break up her relationships, play with her emotion, and to get rid of your ex as well. Like, it's really, really cutthroat and really, really mean. And again, I don't love it. This is why I'm calling her the evil genius of the show, right? Like, she is so strategic, more strategic than I feel like anybody would have ever like imagined. And she's doing it better than anybody. And I do think that a large part of it goes towards the pretty privilege that she kind of wields over everybody. These people think of her as like a goddess. They are very much willing and begging practically to be her henchman, to be her lapdog. Anything it is that she needs, they will do. Remember that first night, all those guys were standing around getting to know the girls. No one ever offered the other girls any drinks or anything like that. But as soon as Francesca comes along, they all start tripping over each other to offer her, like, to go fetch her a drink and whatnot, right? Like, at a certain point, there's like 4 of them who all asked her for a drink. Like, how many hands do you think she has? Like, how many drinks do you think she can, like, drink in like 10 seconds, you guys? Like, calm it down. So this plot actually continues to go on because it's a little bit crazy. After she tells Ines, go for Georgia's man, Dom, because Georgia doesn't actually like Dom. It's okay. Guess what happens? Georgia comes up to her to talk to her. And just to clear the air, make sure that everything's okay in their friendship and stuff. And Francesca, being as fake as she is, she's like, oh no, Georgia, everything is fine, girl. We're good. We're good. And I think it's great that you are with Dom. She never once tells Georgia that she's upset with the arrangement. This is a photo of Ines from the Circle France, by the way, you guys. She's so, so beautiful. What else I want to say about her is I love, like, the way she does her makeup, the smoky eye and stuff like that, and just like her very effortless sense of style. It's always so fun to kind of like compare her style of dress to other people's style of dress, right? Like, she's just very like chic and effortless. She's got very much like that French girl style, which I absolutely love. So again, Francesca kind of flip-flops on the Dom situation just to play the game. She obviously cannot tell Georgia outright that she's jealous and is gunning for her. So again, that is another show of how strategic she truly, truly is. So the next day presents a new opportunity for Francesca to try and break up Georgia and Dom. She actually wins a challenge and decides that she wants to send Georgia out on a date to see if that can like rattle things up. And then she goes on a date herself with Damien, right? And guess what happens as soon as she comes back? You would think she would be talking about the evolution in their relationship after this like romantic date and everything. But no, she is talking about Dom and how much she wants to get rid of him. And you know what she actually does too by the end of this kind of thing? Only 8 episodes have come out so far. So I'm talking about those first 8 here. I should have clarified at the beginning. But when she was initially in the boardroom with Dom, trying to match women up with men, there was a man by the name of Will who showed up, this blonde Viking looking kind of guy. And Dom said he did not want Will to be on the show because he doesn't think Will is a trustworthy person. They participated in a show together called The Mole, and they left on very bad terms. So now knowing this, our evil genius, Francesca, decides, okay, well, I've already sent Georgia out on a date. I've already sent, what's his face, Dom out on a date. This time, instead of sending Dom out on another date, I am going to send someone else out on a date with his arch nemesis in order to make him uncomfortable in this house. Guys, her mind, right? Like, who would have expected all of this from Francesca? She is just lining up all the chess pieces. She truly is playing chess in this house. So that's basically the summary, you guys, of Francesca's kind of like evil genius mind in the show and how she's managed to manipulate everybody and get them to do their bidding, especially this one. Carousel, I like you and I'm rooting for your dysfunctional relationship and everything, but I need you to kind of slow it down a little bit when it comes to being so far up Francesca's crotch. I don't know what it is about these thirsty blondes on these shows with Francesca, but they fall in love with her. And it is true. Carousel, you're bisexual. We find out a little bit later. I think she's full blown in love with Francesca. And that's why she's so obsessed with doing everything and anything to make Francesca happy. This also happened in her season of Too Hot to Handle. Francesca met this blonde girl named Haley or something like that. And she got that girl to act a fool and get herself eliminated because that girl was so obsessed with her, right? It's just wild. The chokehold that this evil genius has on everybody is, I don't even know how to describe it. It is so damn strong. Anyway, you guys, enough about my thoughts. I really want to know what you guys have been thinking about Francesca so far in The Perfect Match on Netflix. Is she your evil genius as well? Or is there someone else that you think is more strategic than her? I know that Chase tried to play the game, but he was a little bit too aggressive, and that's why he wound up getting kicked out after about 3 episodes, I want to say. Meanwhile, we're 8 episodes in, and Francesca is still running the pack. Like I told you guys, I will be doing a video about Chloe. I do have another video about the henchmen coming up as well, and a couple of other people as well. So if you haven't already, do make sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on those other deep dives, okay? But in the meantime, let me know what you think about all of this in the comment section down below, and we'll chat. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.